Greetings everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Advocate Buleb Matsilo. The purpose of this channel is to teach South African law and to teach and preach the Word of God. I want to start by thanking all those who have subscribed to this channel, all those who have shared and commented on this channel. I really appreciate it. And if you are new, you are more than welcome to subscribe, to comment, and even to share. Also, to press the post notification bell so that when we upload a new video, you are alerted. Today, the day I'm recording this message is in August, which is obviously Women's Month in South Africa. I have entitled my lecture or my teaching, Women's Rights are Human Rights. This is a phrase which was adopted as a part of the Beijing Platform and Declaration for Action. Some of the rights that I'm going to be mentioning here, they are adopted there, and they are also adopted by the United Nations. And I will also indicate as I proceed that some of these rights have been enshrined or included in the South African Constitution. These rights include, number one, the right to live free from violence and discrimination. If you are South African, you are well aware that gender-based violence, it's one of the things that plagues our society. This is despite the fact that this right is enshrined in the Constitution. It's even recognized by the United Nations that women are to be free from any form of violence or discrimination. When you look at Section 9, subsection 3 of our Constitution, Section 9 itself is the Equality Clause, which talks about the right of all persons to be equal before the law. A woman being equal before the law, a man being equal before the law. When we say women are to be equal and women have rights, it does not mean that we are taking away now these rights from men. No, men have these rights. But the reason why we are putting an emphasis on women is because as much as men in South Africa, black men, were denied these rights, women were even more denied these rights. They were denied these rights more than their male counterparts. So when you look at Section 9, subsection 3, there's some factors that are listed there that states that you cannot discriminate a person based on gender, based on sexual orientation, based on race, based on religion. You cannot discriminate as a person based on pregnancy, based on sex. In other words, we can't discriminate you because you are a woman. Based on pregnancy, we can't say, no, we cannot give you a job because you are pregnant. No. You have the right to apply for that job even if you are pregnant. Unless if it's that kind of a job where you cannot work as a pregnant woman to protect you. But any other job, a woman is entitled to it, pregnant or not. If you are pregnant, you should even be given an opportunity to get that maternity leave and to be cushioned, for lack of a better word, because you are a mother. For it to be an understanding, that is why, there was a time where we used to teach what is called social context, where people have to be socially contextualized to say, you know what, as a woman, She's the primary nurturer of a child, naturally. And therefore, we have to try to be flexible when we deal with women so that their role as women should not impair their advancement in their careers. Women are to be free from violence. This is also contained in Section 12 of the South African Constitution. Women are to be free from being enslaved. Slavery is a practice that was practiced not only in South Africa, in the United States, and then it was later abolished. But there is what we call modern day slavery, where you appoint a person, employ a person, but the kind of salary that you give that person is not in line with the amount of work that the person does. I call it modern slavery. It's just slavery being modernized. The difference between the current day slavery and the olden day one is that today you are being paid. But when you look at the salary, it's that of a slavery. It's that of a slave, rather. It's like you are enslaving a person, let me put it that way, because slaves are not paid. The women have the right to be educated based on these women's rights. This is also enshrined in our Section 29 Constitution in South Africa, the right to be educated. In the olden days, people used to say, you don't have to educate a child. You don't have to educate a girl child. I've heard of stories where the parents would put emphasis on educating a boy child. Because why? A boy child is the one who will carry the name of the family. But the Constitution says women are entitled to education. So the emphasis that we put on the boy child being educated must also be put on the girl child being educated. And they should also be allowed to choose whatever trade that they want to practice. You know, growing up, we were told lawyering is not a woman's profession. Being a doctor is not a woman's profession. Being an engineer is not a woman's profession. That is how we grew up, some of us. But now we know that we have to create space for women to operate in those trades, in those professions, because women do have brains, just like men. That is why even today there's still a reluctance. You will see somebody say, a female pilot, I hope we're not going to fall just because it's a female pilot. No, the same trade, the same education that is given to a male pilot is also given to a female pilot, so she can do the same thing. Women, one of the rights is the right to own property. In South Africa, there is what is called the Guardianship Act, whereby it was said that women are perpetual minors. In other words, if you are a woman, you are a minor. So it means that you cannot own property. You cannot buy a house. It means that you cannot buy a car. Because to buy a car, you must sign. So how are you going to sign if you are a minor? It means that you cannot own a house. So how can you own a house if you are a minor? So women are entitled to also own property in their own names. That is enshrined in Section 25. Now, the right to vote is enshrined in Section 19 of the South African Constitution, the right to vote. Before 1994, Black people were not allowed to vote in South Africa. And that is why when the Constitution was drafted, this right was included there. And this right also includes women. They are also entitled to vote. The next right is the right to earn a fair and equal wage. This one saddens me because, recently Let me start by explaining it. To earn fair and equal wage, it means that as a woman, if I work as a lawyer and I'm appointed as a director, man is appointed to the same position. Number one, I must be allowed to get that position because I have the same experience, because I have the same qualification as that man. And when we are appointed in that position, both of us, maybe it's a position, same level, we must be paid equal amount. Recently, I've been looking at the news where they say the Football Association, South African Football Association, or PSL, I'm not sure which organization, they are now working on giving women footballers equal pay as men. Because currently, South African female footballers are being underpaid. They are not given equal recognition and equal pay as men. That should not be the position in a constitutional democracy, where the Constitution talks about equal pay and fair and equal pay. The next right is the right to life. This right to life is also enshrined in Section 11 of our Constitution. You have the right to live. That is why the death penalty is not allowed in South Africa. It's not part of our legislation because of this key right that is contained in Section 11 of our Constitution. So there is no court of law that can say, I'm sentencing this accused to a death penalty. The highest that you can rather give is life or 100 years or whatever, but not death penalty. And this right, women are also entitled to it. Women, they have the right of freedom from torture. Women should not be tortured. Men should not be tortured. Women should not be tortured. Nobody should be tortured. So this right is one of the rights that women also enjoy. And women, they have the right to access to health. That is why the government is under an obligation to make resources available for access to health as much as they can afford. So it's a question of affordability as well. Can the government provide? If they can they provide? Let there be clinics, let there be hospitals, let there be pills that women would need to improve their health. Women, in terms of Section 24 of the Constitution, they have the right to decent living condition. Decent living condition. I guess that is why government provides housing, water, sanitation. It must be a healthy environment. They must be in a healthy environment. They must not just be abandoned there in conditions that are unbearable. The environment must be suitable. It must be a healthy, suitable living environment or living conditions. The last one that I will mention here is that they have the right to enjoy the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health. The highest attainable standard of physical and mental health. Women should be happy. Women should be allowed to live at peace for their mental health. Where there is noise, where there is torture, where there is violence, where the living conditions are appalling, that is not the highest standard of attainable physical and mental health. The environment must be conducive for women to attain that highest standard of physical and mental health. All these rights, I have said, these are rights that are attainable or that are recognized by the United Nations, but I have also illustrated that these rights are also enshrined in the South African Constitution. There are many others that I may not have mentioned here, but I was just trying to make a point with these basic ones that indeed, as I conclude, women's rights are human rights. I thank you. Don't forget to subscribe.